The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus went up to the mountain to pray, and he spent the night in prayer to God. When day came, he called his disciples to himself, and from them he chose 12, whom he also named apostles. Simon, whom he named Peter, and his brother Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, Simon, who was called the Zealot, and Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. The Gospel of the Lord.
You're no longer strangers and sojourners, but you are fellow citizens with the holy ones and members of the household of God. That means that once we were strangers and sojourners, that at some point we were far off. We did not have citizenship with the holy ones. That we enter into this world as part of natural creation, but that we are reborn in the Spirit through the sacrament of baptism, at which point we're called to a life of sanctity, and we're made new creations in Christ, and that we're brought into communion with one another. What a beautiful and remarkable gift. How humbling to be a part of something so amazing, but to have received that citizenship by way of pure gift. You can't buy your way into it. You can't merit it by your virtue or your action, by your generosity, your skill, because you know someone, because you had a coupon. All gift. We're not strangers, we're citizens, we're members of a family, of a household. A household is built upon the foundation of the apostles. Apostles play an incredibly important role, not only in the early church, but up until today. Apostle became an office. It started with 12 that were named and called. But it became very evident in the early church that the apostolic order was essential in the life of the church. And so when the apostles started dying, they said, well, somebody has to replace these guys. I mean, even as soon as Judas was lost, they were like, well, there needs to be a 12th. He always had 12. We're never going to have less than that. And as they expanded, they said, we need to expand the order of apostles. That's our bishops. There's not another group of men on the planet that can trace their lineage all the way back like that. It's part of what gives us that solid, firm standing in doctrine, and why we can confidently profess as practicing faithful Catholics that whatever the church teaches, we believe to be true when it comes to matters of faith and morals. So the apostolic order is super important, right? Lays this firm foundation. Jesus needed to make an important decision. So what did he do? He went up the mountain and prayed. He spent the night in prayer to God. Sometimes the most important things, we tend to want to, it's so important, and we're so emotionally invested in the outcomes. Maybe we even have a way that we really want it to go. And we might think we've got it all figured out. But maybe more than any other decision, the things that we're the closest to, that we're most emotionally swayed by, those are probably the things that need the most prayer. I mean, really, you could pray about everything. We don't need to be like, obsessive about it. I have to try and discern whether I want chocolate or vanilla ice cream for dessert. What are you in the mood for? But the more serious the thing is, the more important it is, the more substance it has, the more we should pray about it. Even Jesus needed this method. He needed to go away, be by himself, be in the quiet, surround himself in a tranquil and beautiful environment, and pray. Notice that even in a really important decision, that things don't turn out in a way that looks perfect. Peter, the guy who's named first and who's going to be the leader of the apostles the whole way, denies him 3 times, constantly shoving his foot in his mouth. We already mentioned Judas the Iscariot. James and John have this mother who feels like they need to be the most important. Maybe she's got something against Peter's mother, Who knows? These 12 guys and the complexity of that kind of social hierarchy, even after praying, it's not that we think that Jesus got it wrong, right? We're not critiquing Jesus' decision on who he was to call. But knowing that he made the right decision, it still doesn't look nice and neat and perfect and pretty, does it? These guys are still kind of a mess. And so when we look around the church these days and we see that it still kind of looks like a mess, we probably shouldn't be too surprised. There might have been times in our life where we didn't think or didn't feel like it was quite as messy, but that's probably just because we didn't see as much. Welcome to the information age where everything's on full display. Welcome to, whether you wanted to be a part of it or not, getting an inside scoop at the sausage making process, That can be a little bit alarming sometimes, but it doesn't have to shake us. We might look at our own lives sometimes and see the messiness of it and go, oh, gosh, Lord, you called me to follow you and I've done my best to be faithful. Why is my life such a mess? Why does this feel like such a dumpster fire sometimes? Well, all these guys were basically slaughtered. It didn't look nice and neat, pretty for them either. And you might see another family in the church and think that they've got it all together, and why can't we just be like them? But I guarantee you, if you had a front row seat in their house, that it would be probably just as complicated as yours. We don't have to try and one-up each other to see whose life is more complicated and messy, right? But the church, the domestic church, like the institutional church, is made up of a bunch of fallen, sinful human beings. And so we got problems. Right? At the end of Sunday, when I was preaching my homily for the 4th time, and I was preaching on a kind of a similar note here, I was talking about how we're all broken. I believe the way it came out was, sometimes we like to think that certain group of people are really jacked up. And you know what? You'd be right. Because we're all a little bit jacked up. Right? And with my friends at dinner later, we said, that should probably be a t-shirt that says something like, you're jacked up, and I am too. Come talk to me about it. That there's going to be brokenness, there's going to be messiness. That doesn't have to take away our peace. That in the midst of setting off into this, it's only the 6th chapter of Luke, we're still pretty early. He's calling his apostles. They're going to go on this mission together. He knows how messy it's going to get. He knows how faulty his companions on the journey will be. By being grounded in his prayer, nothing robs him of his peace.